Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Warrior Woman Wednesday. I am your host, Lauren, and thank you so much for tuning in again. This is going to be another solo episode, just me again. And what I really wanted to talk about today was following your dreams. Okay, so I know that sounds like, okay, following your dreams, blah, blah, blah. But it's a major driving force with me doing this podcast, and I'm hoping to inspire other women to do the same. And I know I kind of got into that a little bit in my first solo podcast, explaining, why am I doing this? What's my goal? What got me to this point? And let me tell you, I've been wanting to do this podcast for a long time. And my only regret is that I didn't do it sooner, because I'm just loving doing it. It brings me to a happy place every time I get to sit down and record with someone, or actually even just record on my own, which I was really afraid to do. But now I'm kind of like, whatever, I can do this, right? I can sit down and it can just be me, and I can talk because I can talk. So, again, today I really want to focus on following your dreams. And, right now this podcast it's basically a hobby for me. I'm not making any money doing this. I'm not generating an income from it. I don't know if that's ever going to happen in the future. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But the fact that I'm doing something that I really love doing, and I'm not caring, what other people think about it. If you like it, I love you. If you don't like it or you think it's crazy, well, I'm sorry, but I'm going to do it anyway. And when you're following your dreams, that's kind of a roadblock that you might run into, where you might decide that you want to do something and other people might not really support you. And my mentor, Dan Mason, has talked about this a few times, how it's important to have a group of people around you that really inspire you and get you going. And just recently on Facebook, it's funny because I saw Will Smith doing a little Facebook Live or a little recording where he talked about, make sure that you surround yourself with people who fan your flame instead of people who want to put it out. And that is really so important, because I knew when I was ready to release this podcast that, I might not have a lot of listeners, and it might take me a while. I don't have a marketing background. I don't have a broadcasting background. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm going to gain listeners other than what I've already been doing, which is just talking about this and posting it on social media. But I know eventually I'm going to get somewhere with it. Even if it's just touching a few lives or inspiring a few women, well, then I'm cool with that, because it's part of my goal in doing this podcast. So for me, I didn't really, follow my true dreams. I haven't really followed my true dreams. I've just kind of fallen into the things that were comfortable for me. Growing up in my house, it was like, go to college, go to college, go to college, go to college. And I know a lot of us probably still beat that into our kids. But I can tell you that it's not that I didn't learn anything in college. It's not that it wasn't a good experience. But I basically just ended up with a mountain of student loan debt and a job that I didn't really love. Am I good at it? Yes. Am I thankful for it? Yes, because it does, help to put food on the table and all those good things. So I am grateful that I have that job. But I also realize that work takes up so much of my life, so much of my time. And since I've had kids, time has become so much more precious to me, because I realize now how much time work actually takes away from my kids. And you know what? Not just my kids, but myself, time for me, and putting myself, first, and taking care of myself so that I can make other people happy. And so I'm realizing more and more that it's so important that if you have to dedicate so much time to a job, to any job, that it's important that you're happy in that job. So one of the things I'm kind of learning is, rather than telling my kids, go to college, go to college, go to college, because let me tell you something, college does not bring happiness, okay? And that's like the message that I feel was kind of misconstrued to me, because, my parents didn't know any better. They were just doing what they thought was best for me. If you go to college, you'll have a better job, you'll make more money, you'll have nicer things, you'll be better off than we were, because as parents, that's what we want, right? We want our kids to have more than we did, or have a better life maybe than we had. And it's great. And it's not that I'm saying don't tell your kids to go to college, but my message to my kids, I've decided first and foremost, is going to be follow your dreams, as crazy as they might seem. And as Disney as this might sound, it is true, because there's a place for everyone in this world, even a beach bum. And you know what? If you want to be a beach bum, hey, if you're happy and you're loving life and you're not hurting anybody, then be a beach bum if that's what you want. I mean, my whole thing is I don't want to raise my kids in a society where it's like, I feel like we're constantly in competition with other people and their families and their kids. Like, oh, so-and-so is going to a private school, or so-and-so is, playing the violin and the piano and 17 trumpets, and they're only, 4.5 years old. I mean, that's amazing. And there are some extremely gifted and talented children and teenagers in the world. But, I also think it's important that you don't compare yourself to other people. You don't compare your kids to other people's. And I'm talking to myself, not just you guys. This is a lesson that I've had to teach myself too. Because, as a mom, I've been super hard on myself about what am I not doing well enough? What do I need to do better? And again, since I started my journey and following my heart and my path and doing the things that make me happy, I'm realizing I'm not just helping myself, but I'm helping to teach my kids a lesson too. Take my husband, for instance. He's an amazing, amazing carpenter. Shout out Kaiser Carpentry. If you're in the Port Orange area and you're looking for somebody, he does amazing, amazing work. So check out his Facebook page. Little plug for my husband on my Warrior Woman Wednesday podcast. But I've been so jealous of him in his career because he's doing what he loves to do. He's doing what he's super talented at. It's not to say that he loves going to work every day, but you know what? He loves what he does. He really puts a lot of time and effort into it, and it makes a difference in his product. It makes him stand out maybe from the competition. And, when I first graduated from my master's program, we got married shortly after. And I remember I had a bunch of job offers, and I thought, well, Ryan and I are getting married and I can't take those job offers because they're out of state. And I envied the fact that he built this business from the ground up and he did it on his own. And I thought, well, I don't want to take that away from him and make him go somewhere else, because ultimately I wasn't really chasing a dream when I got out of grad school. I was just doing what I thought was the next best thing. And would I have made more money? Yes, I would have. But you know what? That's not what matters. What matters is, true happiness and doing what you love. So whether I went to another state or whether we stayed here, I still would have been the one probably in the miserable job. And he would have had to start from scratch doing what he loved. So I definitely don't regret that. And especially now that I'm finding my own way and realizing that I can do something no matter where I am in this world, even if it's maybe somewhere where I don't, truly want to be. But I can make the best of it, and I can find a way to get myself to be able to go to the places that I love, like travel to the mountains, travel to see my sister more. And I'm going to get there, and it's going to be a part of my norm in the near future. I don't want to tell myself anymore that I have to wait to do the things that make me happy. I can do those things right now. And so I look at people like my husband, people like the women who I've had on my podcast, the women who I'm continuing to have on, who follow their dreams. And again, I know it sounds super cheesy and super corny, but it is so important to your overall well-being, because you don't know how much time you have here. And maybe this is our one and only life. I don't know what you believe, and I'm certainly not here to preach the gospel to anybody. There's a lot of other amazing people who do that. But for me, it's just realizing that, oh my gosh, anything could happen at any time. And in this book that I've been reading, which I mentioned to you guys before, called Claim Your Power, one of the sections that I just got finished, you had to write your own obituary. Now that sounds super morbid, but I did it. And, it wasn't super impressive. It was just okay, Lauren, mother of two. How many people have been there and done that? Lauren did this. Lauren's a sister. She's a wife. She's a mother, whatever. But there was nothing that I wrote about myself that was really what makes Lauren Lauren. So when I went back to rewrite my obituary with the life that I really want to lead, it was a completely different obituary. I mean, it was almost like, hey, this is cool. I'll read this. I want to be her. It was more exciting to write it, which seems, again, super morbid, but it was a cool exercise to do. And I really encourage people to do that. Think about that. If you weren't, given or promised another day on earth, which you're not, what would your obituary look like? What would you be leaving behind? What would you say about yourself? And again, I think it's funny because I do have 2 sons, and yet here I am doing this warrior woman podcast, and I'm sure it's like, well, where's the love for the dudes? And there is so much love for the guys. Again, it's so important for me to teach my sons how to be, strong, independent men, follow their dreams, do what makes them happy. But at the end of the day, I'm a girl. I only know what it's like to be a girl. And I know that, for me, I wasn't brought up in a super duper, I am woman, hear me roar household. I mentioned in my first solo podcast that my dad was a really mentally abusive alcoholic. So that's why it's important for me to sort of give this message more to women, especially now with this whole Oprah movement and just everything that's going on. It's like it's 2018 and you'd think that as a society we've come so far, but we have so much further to go. And so speaking to women in particular is just really important to me because it's part of the legacy that I want to leave behind. And you know what? I want my sons to be around strong girls and strong women. So that's why it's important for me to really get this warrior woman message out there and follow my dream to encourage women and help women grow and do what inspires them. And it's so funny because I was recently interviewing a woman to come and help me out with my baby who's about to turn 1. And so I'm interviewing her to help me out over the next couple of months until Dawkin is old enough to start this daycare program at the end of May with his big brother. And so I'm asking her, what are your hobbies? What do you do in your spare time? And she started just going on and on and on about interior design. And I can tell just by talking to her that it was her true passion. And then she ultimately even said, this is my true passion, interior design. She's like, but listen, don't get me wrong. I also really love babies. I love taking care of babies. So, of course, I wasn't passing judgment either way. She was a wonderful woman, and I'd love to hire her to help me out with the baby. But again, I could tell that her passion was interior design, and she's from Pennsylvania, so her concern with having moved to Florida was that she wasn't licensed. And how would she get started? And I'm sitting there talking to her, and I said, you know what? You should just print up some Vistaprint cards. And her specialty for interior design is healthcare offices. And I said, print up some cards, and there's plenty of doctor's offices in Florida. Hello, there's like no shortage of medical professions, whether it's dental, medical, whatever. I'm like, and just go into some offices, and you can tell right when you walk in the door when somebody needs an upgrade or a remodel. And, she was very well put together. I said, just take your card, maybe a couple of pictures from your portfolio, and say, I'm not sure if you're in the market for changing anything in your practice, or, maybe doing something with your interior design. But if you ever are, this is my specialty. I'm new to the area. I'd love to leave some pictures in my business card. And you know what? If you go to 20 offices in a day and only one of them calls you, that's one client. And so I'm sitting there giving her this advice and thinking, I need to follow this advice for myself. So again, that's really what I'm trying to do, which is why I'm going to keep doing this podcast. Because it's a dream of mine. And so we'll see where this takes me. And I hope that she takes my advice. And I'm not sure if she's actually going to be helping us with the baby or not. She was amazing. But one way or the other, the realization for me was just, wow, she's got a passion. She's got a dream. She should be following it. And we make excuses for ourselves. So don't make excuses. Think about what you want. And get out there and start doing it, even if it's just part-time, because you never know where it's going to take you. So thank you so much for tuning in again, and I look forward to bringing you another episode of Warrior Woman Wednesday. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.